You would never guess how much I spent on electricity charging my Ioniq 5 going over 3,332 miles to Las Vegas and then back home to Canada. Well, I'm just going to tell you, it cost $305.63. But what if I told you that wasn't the most interesting figure from my trip? Let me explain. I'm going to give you some totals and then dive deeper into each, breaking them into 3 separate categories. The first category, going to Vegas. The second category, in Vegas. And the third category, coming home from Vegas. Let's start with kilowatt hours. It took a grand total of 1,097.46 kilowatt hours to get to and from Las Vegas. Now that's a lot of electricity. That is over 1 million watt hours. And to put that into perspective, the Ioniq 5's battery pack is 77.4 kilowatt hours. Of that, it took 523 kilowatt hours to get to Vegas, 35 kilowatt hours while in Vegas, and 539.4 kilowatt hours to get home. I stopped to charge for a total of 26 times. 13 times to get to Vegas, only once while I was in Vegas, and 12 more times to charge going home from Vegas. Over those 26 stops, I charged for a total of 23 hours. I know that sounds like a lot, but on the way to Vegas, the charging time was almost double of the time it took to charge the Ioniq 5 than going home from Vegas. While I was in Vegas, I only charged the once and it was 36 minutes. On the way home, I spent 7 hours and 46 minutes charging. And on the way to Vegas, I spent 14 hours and 46 minutes charging. That's a ton. And it was because on the way to Vegas, I stopped at 2 level 2 chargers, one in Helena and one in Great Falls. Those 2 chargers alone took 7 hours and 23 minutes. However, I was sleeping in the back of the Ioniq 5 for the vast majority of that time. This means that it was far less grueling than the number makes it seem. I wasn't waiting almost an entire day to charge.
24 hours later.
It was more like around 16 hours over the course of 4 days. And again, I traveled 3,332 miles. Now I want to show some averages of the trip. And to do that, I'm going to break it down into each charging session. The average time at a charger going to Vegas was 1 hour and 8 minutes. In Vegas, it was 36 minutes. And on my way home, it was 38 minutes. The average cost per charging session on the way to Vegas was $13.35. In Vegas was $11.09. And on my way home, it was $10.77. Of those charging sessions, the amount of the battery that was added back on the way to Vegas was 52%, 45% in Vegas, and 58% on the way home. Now that I have bombarded you with all these stats and figures, now is the most essential: the cost per mile. For the third time, I went 3,332 miles and it cost $305.63. Coming out to a grand total of 9.2 cents per mile. And if you haven't already watched, this is part 1 of the Las Vegas road trip. Enjoy.